Good morning and welcome to this month's Join the Pod. My name is Savannah and I'm the Administrative Director for Emerald Cove Day Camp. If this is your first time, feel free to grab a cup of coffee or some tea and get ready for a great conversation with our Emerald Cove Day Camp directors. Before we get started, I do want to mention that this webinar is recorded, so you will have access to this conversation at a later date, so stay tuned. And if you have any questions throughout this conversation, feel free to put your questions in the Q&A chat below. We would love to answer your questions live. Well, without further ado, I will be introducing our two guests, so I will bring them on right now.
Yeah, well, I'm Dylan Wade, and also known as Levi the Nature Guy. And on the other screen here is Cameron Ostrander, also known as Camo. And as you may know, our camper groups are called pods at Emerald Cove Day Camp. And we want to take the time each month to connect with our parents at just about those hows and whys of ECDC. So come join our pod today as we talk about the day in the life of a camp, what that looks like for a camper at Emerald Cove Day Camp. So our mission is to create an environment of God's love such that all members of the Emerald Cove Day Camp community grow in character, skills, relationships, and faith. And today, one way we can help campers and parents grow is through our daily camp programming. We are actually very intentional about how we set it up and what we do and how we do it. And so our camp day is jam-packed full of fun, but also amazing opportunities to try new things, meet new people, and strengthen those skills in relationships that we already have. So it is something cool. There's a lot of pride and joy in how we create and structure our day at camp.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dylan. Yeah, to give you guys all a brief overview, our camp days start at 8:30 and we run until 3 p.m. This might be different if you're a returner, because we've changed it in the years past. We've received feedback. We love feedback. And that we need to be more consistent with our pickup and drop off times. And so we've listened and we made that change. And so we're so excited for this summer to have drop off between 8:30 and 8:45 each day, regardless if you have horses or any other activities during that morning. And then pickup will be from 3 to 3:15 every day, with, of course, the exception of the last day of the session where we have some fun after camp programming. But throughout the day, there's scheduled times for super high energy activities, as well as some time to slow down, maybe some low energy activities, and some time to relax. For our staff, we train our staff to be aware and watch out for signs that might indicate that their pod might need a lower energy activity, or they might need a higher energy activity if they all come to camp amped and ready to go. So we train our staff to be hyper aware of little tendencies and little trends that they see in their pods. We also prioritize keeping our campers hydrated and cool and staying protected while having fun in the sun. And during those hot summer days, the stronger the sun gets, the more we incorporate water into our typical camp activities. And the more frequent we will have sunscreen parties where we're reapplying sunscreen maybe a little bit more frequently than we did at the beginning of summer. Our constant throughout almost all of our activities and everything that we do at camp is the element of imaginative play that we give our campers multiple opportunities throughout the camp day. At any given activity, campers will be collaborating with their pod mates, they'll be problem solving, they will be exercising vigorously, encouraging their pod mates, encountering disappointments, trying new things, all of these things, among much, much more during our camp activities. There's so many opportunities for teachable moments throughout the day, and we love structuring that time to come alongside our campers and have beautiful teachable moments. Overall, our programming is very, very intentional in a way that will help our campers grow in character, skills, relationships, and faith. And we train our staff to point those areas out during the camp day all the time.
Yeah. I think what we're going to do now is just take some time to go over what a typical day at camp looks like. And then we're going to try to point out all those times where we can be, well, we've been intentional about adding, whether it's safety measures or those imaginative play pieces that you were talking about, Cameron. So yeah, let's take a few minutes to talk about a typical day. Most typical, I don't know, typical is a hard word at camp because every day is exciting and fun. But I guess we could describe typical as most of our Mondays and Tuesdays of the first week.
Mhm.
We are really intentional about that. Starting off, that first Monday and Tuesday being somewhat similar, just so that those campers can understand the flow of camp. So, but the first part of every day starts with a transition from home to camp. And that might include a car ride that's pretty long, might be pretty short, but there is saying that natural transition is pretty important to us. So, and it's essential that they come, helping our campers feel safe right off the bat and welcome to camp. Whether a new camper or a returning camper for their fifth summer, campers will feel nervous and excited, especially on the first day. And we train our staff to move towards our campers and welcome them by name, introducing them to the other campers and staff, and involving them in a name game right off the bat. So all those tools are designed to help our campers, feel, kind of move past those big feelings of anxiousness and fear of the unknown and towards more curiosity, maybe some joy and wonder. What's coming next?
Mhm.
And this is why you will see the whole pod come to the check-in table and welcome a camper to camp. And as soon as that first camper arrives into that pod, the counselor will be ready to welcome them in and get them involved in some kind of games and start some chants or songs. And we'll wait until the whole pod arrives before we transition off to the next part of camp,
Yeah.
which is amp up.
hmm Yeah. Amp up is so fun. But what is amp up? Why do we call it amp up? Amp up is a time where the kids get amped up for the day. We sing a lot of camp songs in the morning assembly. We have a lot of silly camp traditions. If you've heard of Amp Can, if you're a returning family, it's when all of our staff compete for basically a can, and they get to pull a little piece of paper out of the can, and it has a little repeat after me song or a little chant or a little dance that they lead the rest of the group, and it's super fun. And we also use our morning meetings to update the camp entirety of some of our camp games and the scores of our camp-wide competition. If you've heard, we have a camp-wide competition throughout the whole 2 weeks versus the Emerald team and the Cove team. So each morning we update scores of who found a watermelon yesterday or who did really well at archery and gained points. So it's a fun time where we can update everyone at camp about the scores. Depending on the day, we could have special guests, maybe some new friends and faces, some silly characters might arrive and help lead a song or a chant or tell a story of their far off travels as they found their way to camp. And then once we go over any more announcements for the day or practice a safety fire drill, all camp is dismissed and we move into then discovery time.
Yeah, discovery time. But before I get to that, I just want to say that this assembly time where we get together and we call AMP Up, other camps heard about how we did this, and we're excited about that. So it was great to join. I joined a podcast to kind of share how we do that at our camp. And it's the word has gotten out about our AMP Up. So that's pretty neat. It's called the Day Camp Podcast, or the Day Camp Pod, and our friends from a camp in New Jersey. So it's pretty cool. But after that, after we've got them excited about the day, they're going to transition to a time where they can get some food and have a little snack, kind of sit down, get to know each other a little bit better. and maybe ponder what God has to share with us. So we take at this time, we're sitting in their pod groups led by their counselor. We have um, a a storybook Bible that is appropriate for these age groups. And we picked out some stories out of there that kind of go with a theme for the whole 2 weeks. And so they'll start to read some of these stories and kind of digest them, not only digesting their food, but digesting the word of God a little bit as well. And it's just a kind of a part of the day to set the tone for the day as well. The first day of the session, we'll actually spend that time working on their uh, kind of their guidelines for their pod. So what is that? What are we going to be like? What are some that we really involve our campers in what that looks like? We have put some of our own, starters in there to help them get to that point. But we come back, they kind of understand, okay, this is what the rules of the 2 weeks are going to be like in this pod. And it kind of gives a family feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the last day, we end it with some circles of affirmation circles. So they'll be at that last day, they'll kind of go away with some nuggets of affirmations from their campers, and it kind of closes out that time really well. So that's kind of what discovery time and that snack time looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just add those pod guidelines. It's so important for the kids to be involved in making the guideline process, because when they make it themselves, they have more buy-in and willing to listen to it. So it's so sweet when, campers have the idea of like, oh, we should be respectful. Oh, we should, ask a question or whatever, lead with curiosity, whatever it may be. So it's so sweet when pods do come together and can make those guidelines within each other's pods. So it's super sweet. But then after discovery time, after they're all nourished and fed and hydrated and ready to go, it's time for the first activity, first and second activity. So each activity is around 40 to 45 minutes. And like I mentioned earlier, some are super high energy and some are pretty low energy. And we try to add a mix of it, add some variety to each pod day. So campers are experience the high energy and the low energy at a good rotation. All of our activities are outdoors, except for arts and crafts, which is inside in air conditioning. And it's a time that they can a little bit more relaxed and they can focus on the arts and crafts at hand. But everything else is outside in the sun. And so we love being able to experience different activities outside in the sun. And each pod will, have the opportunity to participate in an activity at least once or twice in a typical week. Sorry, my background changed, so I'm going to put that back up.
Well, we do have a great outdoor cooking at it's not it's not
not
making
is it cake, but
it is there is something to it, but that's a stretch. But anyway, yeah. So we have our first activity period. What comes after that? Well, we go right into lunch. And so we take this, this time to find a shady spot in our area, and where our campers can come together and eat at a picnic table. It's outside though, and we have 45 minutes to kind of eat and rest, hydrate, go to the bathroom, sunscreen. All of those things can happen in that time. This is important to us that the whole kind of camp has this time to just go take a deep breath after an amazing activity period. But also, and 2 activity periods, I should say. We do 2 activity periods in the morning. So they're ready to just kind of decompress a little bit. So this time, the next time though, after we eat, we kind of move over to story time. So we go inside to a multi-purpose room at the school and have them for a time for them to hear a story. And a lot of times this story will involve maybe characters in costume that come in. Sometimes these are leading into an adventure game where it's interrupted and campers are hear a grander story that they get to actually partake in and get to go outside and help save the day. And so it's really neat to see this time where they get to kind of takes what they heard earlier in the day at the discovery time, what they've been going throughout their activities, and helps them understand that there's a bigger piece to play in all of that. So it may finish with a kind of a moral or a call to action, but it's kind of a neat time before they head off to their next activity.
Yeah. So that next activity, like I mentioned before, same amount of time, 40 to 45 minutes, but it's so fun to finish out the day with a fun camp activity. And because this activity is in the middle of the afternoon, it's typically when the sun is at its peak and it's a pretty toasty out there. So we try to incorporate water as much as we can. Sometimes a typical, let's say, dry activity, we add some water to incorporate it. So if they're at Gaga Ball, maybe we'll add, a sprinkler right next to it so the kids can get wet and stay cool. Maybe we'll add some easy ups, just making sure everyone is staying hydrated, covered in sunscreen and staying protected and safe the whole day. After the activity is over, we then transition into amp down. So earlier we had amp up, we get ready for the day, and then at amp down, we get to reflect and lead a little debrief of the whole day. This is also a chance for our staff to celebrate growth through affirmations. If you're a returning family, you probably have heard of highlights. Highlights is a time where at the end of the day at Amp Down, a staff member will come up to the front of camp on stage and will invite a camper up to the stage and share a character-informed affirmation from the day exhibited by that camper. It's a super sweet time, and we found so much value in affirming the character element that they saw the camper practice during the day and how that affirms our campers' growth. And it is so sweet to hear the stories after camp of families playing highlights with their, siblings or playing highlights with their parents, and how it just starts this positive chain reaction. So it's a super sweet thing that we absolutely adore.
Yes. I would just like also highlight in that is that not only do we debrief at the end of the day, but we debrief after each activity with too. So each activity they do throughout the day, they're getting feedback about whether it's a group feedback as how we did as a group in this activity, or individually, how did we do there? How can we and help, how did we grow in this during this activity? So those, when we go through our trainings for all our staff on these activities, they're very intentional about how they are ending that activity. So it's not just they go do it and they move on to the next one. No, well, how did we learn? How did we get through this? How did we, how did this outdoor cooking turn out? What could we have done better? Did you try something new? Is this a new vegetable that you're trying? Those are the things that kind of go a long way in helping the campers understand that they're growing along the way. So I'd also like to share a little bit about how we close the day with this great affirmations. And there's a really cool piece about that is that even if your camper didn't get highlighted that day, they take little ownership of the one camper that in their group did get highlighted. And somehow it just gives everybody a great uplift. So just to know that when you're coming to pick them up, they just heard themselves get highlighted or someone in their group get highlighted, and it's kind of a neat uplift at the end. And we are really intentional about the pickup time as well. So we're now transitioning from camp back to home, and our staff are trained to communicate with you, the parent guardian of the camper, to give you kind of a brief overview of how the day went. Sometimes those will be a little bit more involved, and sometimes it'll just, just a quick, but and they'll also give you maybe some reminders of what's coming up in the next few days. But one thing is, be prepared. Your camper will probably be singing all the way home. So over that, the campers this age, they like those repetitions. And so that it'll be stuck in their head and might be stuck in yours as well.
Mhm. For weeks. Yeah, for a minute, but they're so fun. Yeah, so I'd love to talk a little bit about maybe a not so typical day, or if they're doing maybe just different activities at camp. So we like to mix it up and add some fun activities to either all camp or maybe just some specifics. So first, we mentioned earlier, we have adventure games. This is an all camp game that we have on Wednesdays, and it's basically like programmed silly fun, where there's a big call to action that we talk about in story time, and we introduce like the call to action. Hey everyone, we need to work together to solve this problem. They get sent off into camp and solve the problem together, and it is so cool to see just how creative our kids are and our staff are, and how they really make the whole camp experience come alive and just go all in. It's so sweet. On the first Friday of our camp session, we have Splash Day. So fun. We in our afternoon activity, we have a big water slide, we have Kona ice, we have like a relay race, and it's a rotation system. So kids can experience all the activities that we have to fully enjoy Splash Day and just have a little fun before the weekend. For our grads, we have a specific grad activity to prep them to one day go up to Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp. And that sometimes varies, but it's somewhat like our, we call it Outpost in Uzumati about YSSC. So it's a little training for that. And then we also have Zimzum. Zimzum is scheduled throughout the session, and you might see it on, your schedule, or have your kids talk about it, and you're like, what is Zimzum? Our counselors have the opportunity to create their own activity, their own imaginative play, and work with their pod with, hey, what are they interested in? Do they like dance? Do they like horseback riding? How can I incorporate a new game into a 45-minute activity period, and they get to experience it together, which is so fun.
Yeah, when we talk a lot about old-fashioned fun at our camp, and that, I think you just described that, Cameron, really well, of like, this is the places where we build it into our program, where they can do this imaginative play. It's so important to us that they get these problem-solving opportunities dodging a pirate, and
Yeah.
going for the gold. So it's all of those things that help them get them into that old-fashioned fun that is so hard in these tech days, behind screens. This is going to be out there. They're going to be, working muscles in their brain more often at camp. So awesome. I also want to talk about our off-campus activities. So when we don't just work at camp, we go off campus as well. And it gives them some amazing experiences in the San Juan Capistrano area and a little beyond. So first of all, for our 2nd through 4th graders, they have the opportunity to go to the Shea Center and do some horsemanship activities. So if you are the days that we go, we try to get out of camp as quickly as possible, so that 8:30 drop-off time is important. We go 2 times in the session, once a week. And the Shea Center is a great spot because it's a partnership we've had for 17, 18 years now. And that they specialize in therapeutic riding, and especially for younger kids. And so they have their own camp there as well. And so we're really awesome. It's great to have this partnership. On those days, we do require campers to have some closed-toed shoes and long pants. Those are important. So that's one, that's horses. But for what about for the kindergartners and 1st graders? Well, they have something pretty cool too. They get to go to this River Street Ranch, which is for rising kindergartners, first graders. It was formerly known as Zumars, but it's a wonderful, great place. And if you've ever been there, you'll know that they have this great Western facade up there that we really take advantage of. So when we're a little different than if you were to take your campers to River Street Ranch, like what we do is we bring in the element of imaginative play again, and we bring in a character, and we give them a tasks to kind of accomplish with this character. So this character needs their help to help go to, and so we take advantage of all the activities that are there. They get to get their hands dirty, searching for gems. They get to pet some of the animals there, and then all of that. The second time they go once, the same thing, twice in the session, once per week, and they'll be doing a pony ride. So they get some of that animal husbandry that's a little bit more appropriate for our kinders and first graders. Mm-hmm. So that's the second one. There's a couple more. The tide pool hike. And I don't know if you can see right behind me here is our little tide pool hike, what it looks like along the Dana Point shoreline. We train our staff to lead this, and it's more than just a little hike. They get to encounter the wildlife that is there. They get to get and look and see at all the tide pools. If the tide is at the right spot, even if it isn't, there's plenty of animals and pretty cool plants to see all around there. And again, we add in a little bit of that imaginative play. There might be some treasure somehow in that area that they're looking for. So there's a really cool, we've been doing this since day one, 18 years ago, working, going along and doing these kind of like beach safari tide pool hikes, and it's pretty neat. And then lastly is our beach day. On every Thursday, we spend 2 to 3 hours at the Del Mar Beach in Oceanside. It's it's on the base of Camp Pendleton. It's pretty neat. It's a great chance to get wet in the ocean, build some sand castles, and interact with campers not in our in your own pod. So they get to really mix it up a little bit. Just important notes on this. It is a really safe beach because it's on the base. It's limited access, and we are so honored and privileged to be able to use that space with the connections we have with the base. And then we take so much time and effort to make sure that that's a safe, fun place for our campers. There's trained lifeguards at the beach there. We make sure we verify that they are real lifeguards. We make sure that we build a wall of our staff to make sure there's clear boundaries of how deep to go and how wet to get. And it's overall a really fun time, and has made a lot of our parents have showed that their kids have really grown a lot in their abilities around the beach and around in the playing in the surf. That has been really important to a lot of parents. So if you have questions on that, if you have any anxieties about that, would love to share a little bit more about Beach Day. But yeah, those are our 4 things. There's a lot of what we do on our off-campus activities.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sweet. Yeah. Last few things that we want to mention too is, as much as we have great fun activities at camp, we also don't stop the camp magic in between activities. So in transitions from drop off to pickup, or from one activity to the next, or even during bus time, when we're on the buses going to and from our offsite activities to on-site activities, camp never stops. We continue the camp magic as we go. And so that includes repeat after me songs. It includes some riddles. It includes just some fun elements that can keep the kids engaged and keep them invested, and just keep the energy up and going in those in-between times. So our staff have a really fun time with this. and it just continues the camp magic as we go throughout the day. I also want to mention the last day of the session, we do something a little different. We how we close our experience at Emerald Cove Day Camp is we want to help them get back to going back to their like normal routine. So going from camp, we help them from home to camp, and now we want to bring them back from camp to home, and how we can celebrate the growth that they had at camp and, be with them, sing all the camp songs. So we actually have a closing ceremony that we invite you parents to be a part of and to come and enjoy just a little glimpse of camp. So we celebrate their growth. We celebrate our grads that are graduating, our rising fourth graders that year, and we just want to experience and celebrate just all of the awesome things that they accomplished during the whole 2 weeks at camp.
Yeah. And I think we give them a little charge in that last transition to take a little bit of camp with them home and how that looks like too. So, yeah. So why do we do it this way? Why the structure that we've kind of shared a little bit? This is not always the way we've done it. We've made tweaks along the way. We've kept a lot of transition or we've kept a lot of our traditions at camp, but how we implement them may have changed. And we look at each summer and we go, what can we do? What can we improve upon? And I think with that whole goal in mind, how can we maximize the growth of your camper while they're at camp? So just some general trends here. Days 1 through 3 are very similar because it allows our campers to get into a routine and feel safe. And that's really important to us. Day 4, that's why we go to the beach day. We wait till day 4 because that's a big day. And then we move on to that first Friday, splash day is important to how we, kind of end of first week. Days 6 through 8, again, we're reestablishing that routine after the weekend. We're building off of last year's growth though. So we know our campers pretty, by name there. We know what their tendencies are. We can work with that. And the campers know who we are, maybe what they can try to get away with. And so that honeymoon period is over. Now we're moving in. That's where that second week is all about that growth. And we can really move and build off of that. We do another beach day the second week. And then that's where we end, as Cameron just shared, on that closing, how we close well and help them transition back to home.
Yeah. Like you said, we plan our days this way to provide the most growth for our campers. And this is especially important for our campers who might be a little bit more anxious or that might have some neurodiversity when going into camp. Camp is the perfect place for kids to experience a safe and structured and controlled environment while still leaving room for creativity and imagination and maybe some uncertainties that we can, walk through that with them and partner with them as they're walking through maybe some new big feelings. There's this really good book called The Power of Play, which hones in on the impact of growth through play, especially for our campers with neurodiversity, and the way their brains open up in innovative ways as they play and helps them gain new tools in their tool belt and how they learn and how they grow. It supports this muscle of training our brains to be in a growth mindset. And that is our hope for our kids and how we can help them experience life in new and creative ways and how they can be their best selves.
Yeah. As a parent with a neurodiverse child, it's amazing how much camp opens up for them, their abilities. They can really be themselves. So, yeah. Well, I think that's kind of sums up our day. And thank you for sticking around with us so long. But there's a lot to go over. Just a quick time for some questions. Savannah, do you have any parent questions for us today?
Yeah, absolutely. I have two. You did cover this at great length, but I think it'd be great just to do a little refresh. But can you just give a couple pointers as to why kindergarten through first grade campers do not go to the Shea Center?
Yeah, I can take this one. And as I talked about before, yeah, it really comes down to what's going to maximize their their growth and being developmentally aware of what a kindergarten first grader can get out of the programming at Shea Center. We found it just wasn't there yet. They're just not able to make the most of it, and there was a lot of there. They're still working through some anxieties and with their big animals. And so, and with those smaller kids, we found the best way to make that is to start them off um, in a position where they can be really, uh, you know, with that a smaller step and getting them a little bit more used to animals, smaller animals at the River Street Ranch, the ability to ride a pony, but it's not such a big horse, to kind of go get them interested and excited about it, bringing in a character, I think made all those things changes, made them, hey, this is for a kindergarten first grader, this is what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And then when they get to second and fourth grade, they're ready to go to the Shea Center and do something really fun and really work on the skills that they had learned at the River Street Ranch. So that's kind of how that comes around. We it kind of just comes back down to what's going to maximize the growth, and that's kind of where we landed.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. We have another live question. So it says, just curious, if my child is headed into second grade in the fall, having finished first grade, are they considered a first grader or are they officially a second grader at that point when it comes to pod formation?
That's a good question. Your camper is considered a rising second grader. So that's how we categorize our campers. It's not the grade that they just finished, it's the grade that they're rising into. So our grads are rising fourth graders, our kindergartners are rising kindergartners and rising first graders. And so they're leading into that year. But that's a question we get all the time. So thank you so much for asking that. But yeah, so they'll be rising into second grade. So they'll be at the Shea Center, which is sweet.
Awesome. Last question. We have our K through fourth graders. So that's quite a handful of awesome campers. And this parent wants to know, how do we keep these kiddos safe when we do our offsite adventures?
Yeah, great question. I think we could probably both answer this, but I'll take the first swing. Um, how do we keep our campers safe? Many ways. Probably one of the first things that our counselors learn is they got to get comfortable head counts and head counts all the time, all the time. So being comfortable with head counts, being comfortable with, staying in a line, that's where those transitions come into play, and they're super effective, not only to keep the camp magic alive, but to keep everyone safe. There's two purposes of those. But especially for our offsite activities, we are, pretty strict on head counts before we get on the bus, as we're on the bus, as we get off the bus, while we're off the bus, and then when we get back on the bus, head counts all the time. Especially when, campers go to and from, let's say, the bathroom, they are going with a friend and a counselor, or maybe two other counselors, and they're always with people. So no camper is ever left alone at any point during any camp day. And at the beach, like Levi mentioned earlier, we have a wall of our staff in the water. So the beach is sometimes pretty scary for campers that don't have a lot of experience, jumping in the waves. And so we have the honor and privilege to give them the opportunity to play within a safe wall and safe boundaries. And so they gain in confidence of playing in the water because they see the wall of staff all around them and they understand the guidelines that they have set in place. And they get to experience just all the fun while feeling, the anxiety go down a little bit when they know, okay, I am protected, I am being watched. I know that I am safe and I'm secure and I can be my best self while I'm, protected with everyone. But yeah, Dylan, do you have
Yeah.
anything to add?
I just want to just reiterate that we really train for this. So we have a policies in place and procedures in place in all circumstances on campus and off campus. And so we train with our staff. We have our staff ride a bus before camp begins, and we go over all those things. We talk about those things that Cameron was talking about. We train it and practice it beforehand. It's part of what we feel is necessary ourselves to keep campers safe, but also it's required of us by our accreditation. We have to follow, these are some the American Camp Association best practices, and we're going to follow those. We're going to come up with those procedures and practice them so that when we encounter any kind of thing we encounter, we're ready to go forward with it. So, and we're going to do as much preventative as we can to prevent anything from happening.
Awesome. Just a quick reminder for parents who may not know, can you share how many times do campers go to the beach per session? And then how many water activities also happen during the session, especially for those campers who just love the water?
Yeah. So they go to tide pools once. So that's one time where they're not in the water. So we're not going in the water, but they might get a little wet. I mean, it's just part of the tide pools. So could get wet. But the beach goes twice. So both Thursdays we'll be going to the beach. We'll have one splash day where we'll intend to get them wet. But really expect them to get wet just about every day at camp. And whether they're wearing a bathing suit or just regular clothes, it might just be nice to have a sponge dripped over their head because they're hot and running around. So water is incorporated in a lot of things we do, but beach day and splash day are the 2 days we are really, everybody is going to get, an opportunity to get wet.
Awesome. One more question. How do we decide on who goes into what pod?
Good question. A lot of different variables come into play. But typically we look at the camp grade, we look at how many kids we have. We also take pod requests. And so you can request to have a friend in your pod, and we'll meet with our director team and our supervisor team and formulate our pod groups. If there's like a friend group, we trying to honor that, but we also encourage camp is a great place to make new friends and create new experiences and to maybe grow in that area of making new friends and keeping new friends. And so while we have many opportunities for all pods to mingle and interact with each other, we also have the opportunity to kind of have, podmates meet different people or be in a group that they have one friend but maybe not another or whatever it may be. But we really prioritize how our campers or our staff members lean into the camp experience with their campers and create the experience the best that they can with their pod and make it their own with the pod that they have and make it so special for their likes and dislikes, and it creates a beautiful, unique experience for that specific pod group. Do you have anything to add to that, Dylan?
Yeah. I would just say, age and gender is where we start. So that's our starting point. And if we, so if there's a group of second grade boys, we're going to put those. And if there's more than 9 or 10 of those, then we'll separate that. There will be into 2 pods rather than just one. And so it kind of depends. And then we take, as Cameron just outlined, we'll do our best to create those groups. And again, with the overall thing, how can your camp maximize growth in this scenario? So that's kind of like how the lens we look at that through.
Awesome. I think, let's see if we have one more question. That's great. Thank you for those parents who reached out and had those live questions. That is the rest of the Q&A portion.
Well, thank you. There you have it. A day in the life of camp. Sounds pretty fun, right?
I
Um,
think so.
yeah. Well, you know what's even more fun than that, than coming to Emerald Cove Day Camp? It's
What?
going to Emerald Cove Day Camp with a friend.
That
Uh,
does sound fun.
yeah, Cameron, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about what this ongoing Refer a Friend campaign?
Yes, I'm sure. I hope you might have seen we have a refer a friend program going on right now. Many campers come back with friends every year and invite other friends to come back, and it only enhances the camp experience. This year, specifically, families who refer a friend to camp not only receive money back, they get a $100 credit. You will also be entered into a raffle for a chance to win free tuition for summer 2025.
Wait, what was that? A
Free
free
tuition.
tuition?
I know. Crazy. And so we'll be sending out a little reminder, a little postcard later this week. So keep an eye out for that. But we also have all the details on our website. So please take a look at that. This is an awesome opportunity and a way that we can just share our camp knowledge and share our camp love to members of your community too. Also, be on the lookout for our annual newt naming competition. If you're unfamiliar what a newt is, as I was when I first started, it is a tiny little salamander, like that fits in the palm of your hand, and it is the cutest little salamander you've ever seen. But we have them at camp and we named them. And so our campers got the opportunity to name all of our newts. So, what will our newts be called this year? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. So keep an eye out. That will be coming out later this month.
Great. Yes. Looking forward to that as well. But this is our last Join the Pod Zoom session this season
Mhm.
before summer. So make sure to be on the lookout for our Join the Pods next fall, and when we'll come back and bring some great insight into camp and what's going on with our program. So in the meantime, if you guys have any questions about our program, what's going on this summer, and just feel free to just give us a call. We'd love to chat and talk about it and kind of help you through the process of getting ready for another summer of Emerald Cove Day Camp. So we can't wait for you guys to actually be in person joining our pods this summer. So really appreciate it. And we'll see you this summer.
Yay. See you this summer. Thanks, guys.